And we have more news from India. The Finance Ministry has announced a big decision. Online gaming will now be taxed in India. How much? 28% as decided by the GST Council. This is a federal body. It decides indirect taxes in India. And I know there will be two sets of reactions to this news. One, who cares? It's just games anyway. And two, this will kill India's gaming industry. Now, if you belong to the first group, this story is for you. Because online gaming is huge. The industry here in India is worth around $2.8 billion. By 2025, it will be worth $5 billion. The global industry is valued at $196 billion. My point is quite simple. There is big money involved. And let me explain how this works. If you go on the internet, you will find hundreds of online games. Some of them are really popular. You may have heard of games like Fortnite or Minecraft. Here in India, betting games are also quite big. Games like Dream 11 or MPL. You don't bet on who wins or who loses because that would be illegal. Instead, you create a virtual team of players before the match. If those players do well in the actual match, you win. To enter these games, you pay upfront, sort of like an entry fee at your local gaming arcade. If you win, you can get a lot of money. Take Dream 11, for instance. You can enter the game by paying just 8 rupees. But guess what the total prize pool is? 12 lakh rupees. First prize winners can get up to 4 lakh rupees. Imagine that. You pay 8 rupees, you get 4 lakhs. This should tell you why online gaming is so popular. Now let me tell you what the tax means. The GST, as we said, is an indirect tax. Technically, it is levied on the producer or seller. In this case, the gaming companies. But in practice, this tax burden, like most tax burden, is shifted to us, the consumer. So here's what's happening. Until now, the tax on gaming was negligible. If you spend $100, you pay, say, $1.8 in GST. Now you must pay $28 in tax. What does that mean? It means that your prize pool is now a lot smaller, and smaller prize pool equals less participation. So gaming companies are not happy. They say the new tax will kill the industry completely. Now here's something else that you should know. Online gaming does not have borders. There are big companies in the US and China, and they don't have to pay 28% tax. In fact, they dominate this market, the gaming market. American companies make up 23% of this market, Chinese companies 25%. So experts say Indian gamers will change loyalties. Instead of Indian games, they will switch to American and Chinese games. Then what happens to the Indian industry? Business leaders say it could perish. The finance minister has pushed back against this suggestion. She says the idea is not to kill any industry. Listen to this.
इंडस्ट्री को खत्म करना ऐसे कोई कुछ हमारे एजेंडा में नहीं है. कैसीनो को प्रमोट करने के लिए, क्योंकि वो टूरिज्म का बहुत अहम मुद्दा है एक आध स्टेट्स के लिए, उसमें टैक्स फूड प्रोडक्ट्स से भी कम होना चाहिए क्या?
The government's argument is quite simple. You can't tax online games like rice or wheat. One is essential, the other is not. So the government says 28% tax was necessary. But what about other countries? How do they tax online games? In the US, the rate depends on which state you're in. The average is about 10%. In the UK, it depends on how much you make. Their rate is between 15 and 50%. And what about China? Well, Beijing offers tax breaks to gaming companies, meaning some of them have to pay no taxes. Some state media agencies have called for taxes to be levied, but so far Beijing has refused. So governments in the West do tax online games. Sometimes the rate is as high as 50%, 50. Then why is India's decision so controversial? Well, a couple of reasons for that. One, India's gaming industry is only finding its feet. We are competing with well-established American and Chinese rivals. And two, there is already tax on winning from online games, a 30% tax. It is deducted at source. So put together, the average gamer is going to have to pay a lot. The question is, could there have been a middle ground? Certainly 1.8% tax was not viable, but is 28% too high? The government says it was a necessary move. We'll have to wait and see how it affects Indian games. Most of them are in fact betting games based on cricket, and it's not something the West or China has traditionally dealt with. So who knows? Maybe there is still hope. The Cricket World Cup will begin soon in India. Maybe that will answer some of the questions.